we go. Good evening, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's joining us via Zoom for our annual kindergarten registration orientation session. Before we get started, we just have some introductions to make. So I'm Jamie Labiloa. I'm the Assistant Superintendent here in the Hingham Public Schools. And this evening, we are joined, just so we avoid the awkward who's up next, I'll just have call on people you can wave and say hello. We're joined this evening on the panel by Mary Eastwood, our principal at South Elementary School. Greg Lamoth, our principal at Plymouth River Elementary School. Dr. Amanda Donovan, who's our interim principal at East Elementary. And Dr. Sheila Kuskis, who's our interim principal over at Foster. And the district also has two of our kindergarten teachers here who are also our kindergarten coordinators. So they do a lot of outreach with the preschools and they ensure, and they're the representatives of our kindergarten team here this evening. And we have Julianne Riley from Plymouth River Elementary, who looks frozen maybe, but that's Julianne, and Lakshmi Hobson from South Elementary.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Okay. So we have what we have this evening for everybody is a brief presentation. And I see Julianne just popped up. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and we'll walk you through just some, we're going to start with just some procedures around timelines and dates and when packets will be available and when registration will begin. And then Julianne and Lakshmi will take you through our kindergarten curriculum. We'll then talk a little bit about our readiness skills. So we worked a few years ago with our kindergarten teams to develop, we got a lot of questions from incoming kindergarten parents just around, you know, what should my students be doing or what they shouldn't be doing and what should they have in terms of readiness skills. So we'll walk through those with you all tonight. And then what we'll do is we'll take questions toward the ends of our session and we're happy to answer any and all questions. We'll use the raise hand feature and then we'll call on people individually to ask your question of the panel. So without further ado, I will, Julianne, Julianne's back. Hey, Julianne, do you want to share your screen or would you prefer I do mine?
Jamie, my computer's sort of freezing a little bit, so I can't get it to
share. Don't worry, no worries at all. So I'll share my screen.
So sorry.
No worries at all. Just bear with us one moment. We're having slight technical issues. Share screen. Apologies, everyone.
This is the downfall of technology.
Well, it's webinar, so I'm having a bit of an issue. I'm not seeing the traditional. Lakshmi, would you mind trying to share yours, and we'll see if that.
Sure. Give me one sec.
I'm having an odd share screen moment. It's coming up blank. I get basic, advanced, or let me text Sherry.
Mine's letting me share if you want me to just share it.
Yeah, would you mind sharing the Google presentation? Is that? Thanks, Greg. There we go.
You can see it?
Yes, I believe so. So welcome. Apologies for our technical difficulties. Welcome. So you can move ahead the first couple of slides, Greg. So here's our agenda. Again, we just completed the introductions and the welcome. We'll first start by reviewing the kindergarten timeline for registration for this spring, for spring of 22, for entry of our Hingham High School class of 2035. So the incoming kindergartners in the fall will be our high school class of 2035. We'll then turn it over to Lakshmi and Julianne, who will take us through the program overview and curriculum highlights. We'll then come back to the group. I'll sort of walk everyone through a discussion and a review of kindergarten readiness skills. We'll also then take some questions and we'll adjourn from there. So beginning February 28th, the kindergarten registration packets will be available for pickup in all 4 elementary schools at the central office, as well as they will be available for download from our website. Now, if you do go to download from our website, we're going to ask you to fill out a little Google form where we will collect some basic information. And then at the end of that form will be the password for the registration page of the website. And our office, and as well as all the school offices, have been very busy preparing all of those materials for release. We will begin to release the packets, and they're available for pickup on February 28th, and they'll be available all the way through April 1. But we do ask you to pick them up between February 28th and March 11th. That will allow you time to complete the forms, and there are quite a few, as well as some questionnaires and some information around health records and health information. And so what we're asking is, once you have completed your packet, the actual registration where you will bring the packet to the schools will be from March 14th through the week of March 14th through March 18th. We ask you to bring all of the completed forms to the packet, the original birth certificate for your students, proof of residency, immunization records, and an eye exam from a physician. Now, Hingham Public Schools does offer a tuition-based full-day program. And at the time of registration, we do require a 10% deposit on the total cost of tuition. And so that would be a check for $375. The annual tuition is $3,750 for the 23-24 school year. Our school committee has not voted to raise that fee in a couple of years. Our ultimate goal will be to have universal free full-day kindergarten, but we are still working toward that goal. So again, if you're applying for full day, we do ask that you bring a check for 10% of the tuition deposit. And we also have information in the packets around the FAX system, which is the online system where you could actually make your payments for the kindergarten tuition. April 1 is the deadline for registration for the fall. So by April 1, if you cannot make it March 14th through 18th, that's not a problem. The date that we are asking for all registration, completed registration packets to be submitted is April 1. And that's really because kindergarten, as the point of entry and registration for many of our students, our staffing numbers are really dictated by our incoming kindergarten students. So we do ask by April 1 to have a strong sense of who will be enrolling in the fall, so we can ensure that we have the appropriate staff in place to meet the needs of all of our incoming kindergartners. Then what will happen is, once you're registered, the schools, the 4 individual schools, so either East Elementary, Foster Elementary, Plymouth River, or South, we'll be invited to an orientation later in the spring. And I know the principals are here. They'll be able to sort of talk a little bit more about that if questions arise. But again, that's going to happen later in the spring, and those dates will vary by school. So we always get questions around entrance age. And so the Hingham School Committee does have a policy 6.2, which outlines the age requirements for school attendance. Essentially, it is the policy of the Hingham School Committee that a child entering kindergarten must be 5 years old on or before August 31st to enter kindergarten, and they must be 6 years old on or before August 31 to enter grade 1. There are some instances, Greg, you can move on to the next slide. There are instances every year where families may have concerns about registering their students. What we have to be thoughtful of is the school committee has set a policy on when students should register. We do, however, have a waiver process. So again, if any family feels their child is not quite ready for kindergarten, we do ask that you reach out to the school that your child will attend and connect with that school principal. They will provide to you the paperwork that's required for us to consider a waiver of the school committee's entrance age policy. Again, it is a policy of the school committee, and without an approved waiver on file, The difficulty really will be when you come to enroll for kindergarten and the student is 6, you may get placed in grade 1, again, without an approved waiver on file. So again, if there's any concerns, we ask that you reach out to your school principal to discuss the matter further by the registration deadline of April 1. And you want to, at that time, bring to the school's attention any special circumstances that support or document those concerns around your child's readiness for kindergarten. I will say each year we do receive a handful. On average, it's about a 50-50 split relative to those that are approved and those that are denied. There is a process involved, which you'll complete a questionnaire for us. You'll tell us a little bit about the concerns. We'll also reach out to the preschool or the daycare provider to speak a little bit more about the child's skills. And then there likely will be an observation by either Julianne or Lakshmi in the child's preschool setting, again, to assess readiness. We're not trying to take away parental rights relative to concerns about kids. We just want to make sure that we are providing kids access to same age peers that are developmentally appropriate. And as the teachers will talk a little bit about in just a few minutes, we do see kids of all different levels, right? That's our role as the educational system, is to bring kids along with our curriculum. Even if they might be a little bit behind, or there may be a feeling they're a little bit behind in certain areas, we want to rest assured to everybody, or please be rest assured that it's not the first time, right, that we've had these experiences. So our faculty are skilled at ensuring all of our students make progress in our challenging curriculum. And we can move on. So now I'm going to turn it over to our kindergarten coordinators, Lakshmi and Julianne, who will talk a little bit more about the district's kindergarten program.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you so much. I know on the previous slide, Lakshmi and I had provided you with a shared email address that we have for the district. So feel free to jot that down. And as you're moving through the process, if you have any questions or any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to help you, whether it be find someone to connect with within the district, or if it's just a question, we're happy to do the best we can to answer that so that you feel ready and prepared to join us in the fall. Lakshmi and I will take you sort of through our curriculum. Right now, we do it very basically, just so that you can hear sort of what we're working on throughout kindergarten. And like Jamie said, we take the kids from wherever they come in, and we have a wide range of abilities, and we teach to the students' abilities, and we meet them where they're at and never ask them to do anything that they are not yet ready for. We always are working with them wherever they are at. You will have an orientation later in the spring. So right now, we're not going to dive deep into our curriculum. We just want you to know what we work on, and that we're sort of working through a sequence. So we start with the most basic skills, and then we continue to move on as the students are ready to progress. So for English language arts and literacy, we start with basic skills that I'm sure many of them are working on in preschool, like rhyming, first sounds, syllables, being able to count the parts of a word. While we're in school, we do start responding to literature and stories. And again, we start very basic. So at the beginning of the year, we respond with just a drawing. We move on to labeling. And then as we're now into February in the school year, we're doing more of writing and trying to respond pencil to paper as well. We do have sight words that we work on, and the kids are always very excited when they start to see them and recognize them in different stories that we're reading. So that's something that's always good to practice at home as well. And students also have their own journal, which is a great piece for parents to see when you meet us for conferences. It's a great indication of their progress. It shows you, again, where we start at the very beginning of the year and how we progress with our literacy skills throughout the school year.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lakshmi Hobson. I teach kindergarten at South Elementary, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do for mathematics in kindergarten. Everything is very hands-on, and we use lots of manipulatives to form and develop their knowledge about numbers and number sense. We have lots of daily routines that we go through each day. Math is embedded in the kindergarten curriculum throughout the day. So lots of counting, lots of patterning, recognizing colors and shapes. Some daily routines include calendar. So we learn what the day of the week is and what the date is and the month and all of those little details. And it's very activity based. Like I said, lots of manipulatives where they're working on their one-to-one correspondence. And it's very developmental throughout the kindergarten year. We, like Julianne said, we take them right from where they are and just try to carry them forward on their own individual developmental path. And they truly are in different parts of that path. And that is very good because then we can differentiate for them. So exposure to some mathematical skills include counting and estimating, reading and writing numbers, exploring addition and subtraction using lots of different manipulatives, measurement, prediction, weight, length, temperature, and time. And we do a lot of connections to their world and themselves so they can make meaningful connections to math. Shapes, money, patterns, and graphs are also explored, again, at the kindergarten level developmentally.
For social studies, we always start with thinking about ourselves. When we have 5- and 6-year-olds in front of us, they are experts about themselves. So we like to really focus in on them and make them a part of their learning. So we really start the year thinking about all about me, thinking about their family, where they come from, and who lives with them. Do you have any pets? We think about their personal information. Do you know the names of the people that you live with? And what is your address? All those little life skills that they need is what we work on with them for social studies. And it's also a great starting point to think about similarities and differences. We all have different family members, we all live in different places, but we like to work together to find those connections, especially at the beginning of the year when we're focusing on building our classroom community. And we really think about sort of exploring that world around us. We start first thinking about our classroom, and then we start thinking about the school and move into the community helpers. And who else in Hingham do we know that helps keep us safe and take care of us? And what are those kinds of jobs, and who are the people that have them? So we do a lot of thinking about that in our school as well, sort of touring our school, learning about where all of the different specialists are in our building. So we also focus on map skills, again, at a very basic level, but they always have a lot of fun with it because we take them on little tours, or we give them a section of the classroom and they have to make a map out of that. And it really sort of gives them that ownership and the sort of power to be in charge of their own learning. And when we're in kindergarten, that's what we want them to do, is be using their own knowledge and the places that they're coming from and sharing those, bringing us closer together, but also learning about the world around us.
Science is a very big part of our day each day too. Right now, we are really interested in all of that snow outside. And we actually have snow gear, and we're going out there and exploring that snow, touching it. In some cases, we're tasting it, all the clean snow. And the kids are fascinated by the way it freezes. And we're actually talking about solids, liquids, and gases. And that even at a kindergarten level, we can explore that right outside, which is awesome. We go talk about the seasons in kindergarten and how there's lots of changes through each season. What are some specific changes that happen? We explore outside. We talk about forces in motion by building in our different center areas. We might build a block structure and make a ramp and push down a car, and that's the force of motion. When you exert motion on something, it moves. So that kind exert a force, I should say, it moves. So we're building within the classroom, making those connections based on what we are doing with our little bodies. We talk about life cycles, your life cycle, and as Julianne said, very egocentric at this age. So talking about themselves a lot and how they change from the beginning of kindergarten till the middle to the end, and life cycles happening all around us as well, with animals and the seasons and everything.
A large part of our kindergarten curriculum, and I'm sure you've noticed that Lakshmi's mentioned a lot of this is embedded throughout our day. So it's not like we sometimes sit down and just focus on one concept. A lot of things are intertwined throughout our day, and social emotional learning is definitely one of those concepts that we're working on all day, because we need to know how to advocate for ourselves and be self-sufficient and take care of ourselves when there isn't an adult right there to help us. We do have some programs that we use within the district. So one of them is Toolbox, and we use different skills that we as adults use and sometimes even need to practice them ourselves and model that behavior for the students. So we use our patience tool and show them how you need to be patient to wait even though it's hard. And we use our breathing tool if we're feeling like our energy is really high and we need to settle down. And one of the favorites is always the garbage can. If something crummy happens to you during the day, you just throw it away and move on, and you don't have to carry that with you. We want them to be able to acknowledge that something happened, learn from that experience, and then move on. You don't have to carry that with you for the rest of the day. So we really try to focus on those self-help skills and giving them those tools so that when they go home or when they're on a play date, they're going to be able to use those tools to help themselves as well. We also use a social thinking program. So we think about in kindergarten, even though you might want to play, right now we have to do some learning. So we talk about the group plan, we talk about following our group plan, and then sometimes you get to follow your own plan. But there's a difference between the two and learning what that means. We also focus on whole body listening. So when we're sitting down to read a story, what should you look like and what should you sound like? And how do you let the person who's reading know that you're thinking and caring about them? We also focus on their independence and their confidence and certainly their self-esteem. We want them to love kindergarten, because if you do not love kindergarten, you have a very long career ahead of you in school. So we want to make sure that they're feeling really excited about being here. We also want them to think about the other people around them and not just themselves. So are you using kind words, and are you taking care of the people that are in your classroom? We focus a lot on collaboration and teamwork. When we're sitting down to do small groups, we're working together. As adults, we know when we go to work, we work with our colleagues and we work with a team. So we start right in kindergarten from having them help each other. So if you need help before you come ask a teacher, make sure you ask a friend, because sometimes you can learn from them as well. So helping them to rely on each other and use one another to learn from as well.
It's wonderful because all of the kindergartners are able to enjoy going to a specialist teacher in the elementary schools. They will get to take part in music, in art, Spanish, computer science, gym, and library. And typically they will go to another place within the school building to attend these specialists. And it's a highlight of everyone's day to go to these specialists.
So we do at the end, we know this is a lot of information and we don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So we always like to remind people that our focus when we're thinking about the kindergartners coming to us is that they're just children. So we acknowledge that and we celebrate that as well. So it's important to realize that I am a child. I'm not built to sit still, keep my hands to myself, take turns, stand in line, be patient, or keep quiet. I need motion, I need novelty, I need adventure, and I need to engage the world with my whole body. let them play. Trust me, I am learning. So if you ever visit us in school and it looks like we're doing a lot of playing, you are correct. We probably are, but there's a lot of learning that's happening at the same time. So we're really happy you're here. We do have a few more readiness skills that we'd like to share with you, but if you're interested in looking at our website, we do have a kindergarten website as well. And please remember, if you need us, to use our email address and reach out to us with any questions that you may have. You might think of them after, because it is so much information at first.
So at this time, we're going to talk about some kindergarten readiness skills. Many parents ask, what can we do to get ready for kindergarten, for this transition in your child's life from preschool or pre-K to kindergarten? So we're going to go over some things to practice over the next 6 to 8 months. So some self-care skills, as you can see, are listed here: potty training, dressing, eating, washing, belongings, taking care of your own things, being responsible, nose blowing, cleaning. These are some examples. We will obviously work on all of these things. And again, to reiterate, wherever your child is, we will take them forward from that point and really reinforce all of these things. But it is helpful to work on these things as you go through the next few months and through the summer. We work on being responsible for your things, taking your, your coat off, hanging it up in your cubby, taking care of your bathroom, the bathroom readiness piece. We talk about washing hands and how to wash our hands the correct way. And also something you can practice actually over the summer is buttoning and zipping coats. Shoe tying comes sort of later in the kindergarten year when they're getting ready for first grade. Developmentally, many children are just not ready to do that, so don't stress about that too much. You can absolutely work on those things. You know your children best, so whatever you think that they can work on for self-care skills, just keep building on that, and we will take it from there in the kindergarten year.
For academic skills, again, these are not things that we want you to feel like you have to go home and start doing every single day. Sometimes kids come in and they know all the letters of the alphabet, and sometimes they come in and we know maybe 5 are the letters of our name. So it's certainly nothing that you need to practice every day, but some of the things that might be helpful for your student or your child coming in to have a more knowledge or a little bit more of a foundation are things like being able to sit and listen to a story. We tell a lot of stories and listen to a lot of stories in school. So being able to sit and listen for maybe 5 or 10 minutes to hear a story. And that's a great bonding time for you two to be reading together. So print awareness, being able to recognize their name, and if they're out in a public place, being able to notice that the letters in their name are in other places as well, not just in their name. For math, just simple counting. We do so much counting, like Lakshmi said, it happens all day long. We count all the kids anytime we leave the room, every time we come back. And but just simple counting, being able to even go to 5 is great. Stamina is something that even in February, we're still working on. We have a long day in school, so being able to maintain an activity, even if you're playing a game with them at home, like Chutes and Ladders, being able to start the game and finish it, because sometimes it's tiring, but we need to finish that skill. So being able to work in a group for a few minutes, we're still working on that now. Fine motor skills, being able to hold a pencil or a crayon and knowing how to switch back and forth between the two. For art, we do a lot of art in school, not just when they visit the art teacher for their specialist, but they really learn a lot through art as well. So being able to recognize other shapes and know that every triangle is not going to be green, or every square is not going to be orange. Those are the colors of our pattern blocks. So we have a lot of conversations about that. And directions, ability to follow a direction. So if you give them a direction at home, we would do the same thing in the classroom, and we expect them to follow that direction that we give, and then we'll redirect them if they need help, or add them extra support if they need a little bit. Playing and sharing is something that we spend a lot of time on in kindergarten. When you come into our classroom, we have so many wonderful toys that sometimes it's difficult to share. So we work on not just taking that for yourself, but really playing together. And how do we use that at the same time? And how do you ask for that when somebody's done? May I please have a turn? So giving them those skills as to how to play with somebody and not just play with themselves. And like we mentioned earlier, just their personal information. It's so helpful for them to know their first and last name, as well as their address at the beginning of school. And we're doing things like getting ready to go on the bus and making sure that we're in the correct bus line for the correct address with your number. So those are just some things that might be helpful for them to know before coming in. And social skills, again, these are things that we work on all day, every day. No matter the season or how many days we've been in school. So one thing that can be really difficult for them, especially at the beginning, they're coming into a new building and a new place. So separating from you can be a difficult transition. So at the beginning of the year, maybe talking to them a little bit about that. You're going to be in a new place, and you're going to have a new teacher, and you're going to meet new friends, so that when it happens, they're ready for it and they know that it's coming. Again, rules in school, we have a lot of rules that we have to follow. We have certain places that we sit and places that we have to line up. So maybe having some rules at home that they have to follow, so that when they come to school, that doesn't feel like a new thing that they have to do. One of the most important things that we want for them is for them to be able to advocate for themselves and ask for help. Sometimes they're so quiet that it takes us a minute, especially when we're getting to know them, to know that they need something. So make sure you let them know that we're here to help them and keep them safe, and make sure they have a fun day. So if they need anything, make sure they just ask for help, and reiterate that, especially I would say with going to the bathroom at the beginning of the year. Some of them are uncomfortable. They don't know if they have to ask or if they can just go, because all of the kindergartens do have a bathroom in the classroom. So, making sure that you also reinforce that of, if you need something, ask for help. And if you need the bathroom, ask your teacher, so that you can figure out if that's something you have to do or if you can just go. Self-control as well. We have a lot of transitions throughout our day. So we're starting at the rug with a meeting, and then we're moving into math, and then we have recess, and then we come back and have literacy. So there's a lot of transitions through the day, and being able to control yourself within those transitions can be a difficult skill. So we do focus on, like I said, your breathing tool and noticing how your body feels, so that if you are a little bit out of control or having a little bit too much fun, you're able to notice that and sort of rein it back in, so that you're ready for the next activity. So we always talk about that. Are you listening with your whole body? And are you in a spot where you're ready to learn? You have to be ready to learn to join the group. And that stamina always comes back. You don't only have to have stamina for working during the day, but you also need stamina to work through your sort of social issues as well. So making sure that you have the ability to sort of problem solve if you're working with a friend and things aren't going your way, make sure that you have that stamina and also those skills to sort of help yourself through that problem. And Jamie, I can pass it back to you, and I think we're ready for some questions.
I had one more thing to just mention. I'm sorry.
That's
If I
okay.
can. The stamina question is a question that comes up a lot from parents. And give your children some time to give them about 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of school, to adjust to a full day, if that's what you choose. It takes some time for their bodies and minds to adjust to the rigor of and expectations of a full day of kindergarten. So don't give up on them and don't give up on us. We will get them there. It just takes some time for them to adjust to the routine and the new structure of being in a school, in an elementary school. Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
No, that's an excellent point. Thanks, Lakshmi. Greg, if you want to come out of the share screen, what we'll do is the panelist is happy to answer questions. I'll serve as moderator. So if you just want to raise your hand, we'll take you in the order in which your hand is raised. Just as a reminder, Monday, February 28th, the packets will be available, and March 14th through the 18th is the registration week for have those returned. And we're hoping to have all registrations in by the deadline of April 1. So again, if anybody has any questions, please just feel free to use the raise hand feature, and we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. Or if anybody has a friend. Oh, here we go. Okay. Lauren. Hey, Lauren, you feel free to ask your question.
Hi, I was just wondering what the half-day hours and the full-day hours are.
It varies a little bit by school. So we'll ask our principals answer that for you, just because we have 2 schools on an earlier tier and 2 schools on a later tier.
So at PRS, our start time is students are let in the door at 8:10, and for a half day, they would leave at about 11:30. For a full day, they get dismissed at 2:30.
And at South, so PRS would be the same as Foster, right?
Mhm.
And then
Yes.
South and East would be, the children come in at 8:40 and start at 8:50. And if they went home, if they did the embedded half-day program, they would go home at noon. Otherwise, they go home at 3:00. Thank you for that question.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. Jen Lincoln. Hey, Jen, feel free to ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm sorry if this was mentioned. Did you talk about the Kids in Action program at all?
We didn't actually. So that's a great point. And actually, I believe our director, Jackie, is on the call, who I can bring up. So what Jen's referring to is the Hingham Public Schools offers. And I'll bring Jackie up to the panel. We offer before and after school care through our Kids in Action program. In the registration packet is actually an informational letter, as well as an application for Kids in Action. And Jackie, I didn't know if you had any other thoughts or wanted to talk a little bit about what Kids in Action offers.
Hi, I'm here. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. So Kids in Action, the kindergarten program is located at South Elementary School, and all the children in the district that are in kindergarten who participate will go over to South School. The Kids in Action teachers will put the children on the bus and take attendance, and when they get off the bus at South, they also take attendance. During the day, we have activities, we provide snack. They have they play outside for quite a long time. There's art and STEM activities. There's arts and crafts. And we are open till 6 o'clock. And parents may pick up their child anytime up until 6 o'clock. And we offer a 5-day program, a 3-day program, or a 2-day program. You may choose the days. And there's also a before school program if you might be interested in that.
So if anybody is interested in Kids in Action, again, when you pick up the packet, there actually is an informational flyer there. We'll have information on how to register, as well as information about the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jackie. So I think up next we have Jacqueline. So Jacqueline, feel free to ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. That's been a really great presentation. And I apologize to everyone else on the call because this is probably not relevant to anyone else, but I'm calling from California.
Hey.
And our family is really getting excited to relocate to Hingham. And so I've been doing a lot of Hingham search. And first of all, is it really 14-1? Because that's mind blowing to me.
Our student to teacher ratio?
Yes.
It is in the district. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. I taught kindergarten for many years also, so I just can't even fathom. Also, because finding a house, there's such low inventory in Hingham, we're still really looking for one. I see that the deadline is April 1st.
Mhm.
Is there a chance, because I know you need a Hingham address to register, what are the deadline fee doesn't matter, but will there ever be a situation where we would not be placed in the neighborhood school wherever we find a home?
No.
Okay.
No, that's I don't recall if this ever happened. It's not uncommon either, Jacqueline, for families to move in the spring and summer. So if you're a new family that's just moved to Hingham, then you obviously wouldn't have the late fee assigned to your application as you just moved to the town, right? The other thing I would mention there is you can also register with a purchase and sale agreement if you're closing on a house but it kind of won't be in until maybe September 15th, like that's not unheard of, or October 1, and you're still going to be local for a month or so, you can still register. You would need permission of the superintendent of schools. So you would still register your child, you'd let the school know, and the principal would like to connect you with the superintendent, and then to get clearance to sort of register and attend school. But you would have to have, again, a signed purchase and sale if you're not actually occupying the home in Hingham, but maybe in the area.
Okay, and then another question I have is, in the event that we do move sooner, say April, and I have looked at some preschools, but I also saw those are preschool program through Hingham Public Schools. And what's kind of the best direction, or how can you direct me into how I can get my child into a preschool program to be prepared to enter kindergarten?
Yeah, so the Hingham Public Schools does offer a both a 3 and a 4-year-old pre-K program, and that's housed over at East Elementary with Dr. Donovan is the principal of our preschool. And I believe we have 1 or 2 open seats actually for typically developing peers. We operate an integrated preschool, which means half of our seats are for students with disabilities who require special education services prior to entering kindergarten, and the other half of the seats are typically developing peers as models, and they have a full experience in the preschool. We actually have a preschool director, Liz Costanza. And so if you wanted to email either myself, Jacqueline, or Dr. Donovan, all of our email addresses in Hingham follow the same naming convention. We're all first letter and then last name. So Amanda would be A. Donovan, I'd be J. Labilua. If you email us, we can connect you with Liz Costanza, who's our preschool coordinator, who'd be happy to talk to you a little bit more about our preschool program and any availability we might have later in the spring.
Okay, and do you offer any summer programs for kinder readiness or preschool, or like a summer bridge?
We do not. So we do run summer programming through some federal grants that for the first time our summer academies ran last summer. What generally happens is those are for students entering grades 1 through 12 versus our incoming K kids. We really believe that as you heard Lakshmi and Julianne talk about, kindergarten is a developmental time. And as long as there are some key base readiness skills available, we feel pretty confident that the kids will find success in the program. That said, there may be some availability in some of the private preschools for summer opportunities, but the district itself does not run any.
Okay, no, and I just wanted to say thank you for that piece of comfort as kindergarten teachers saying that, because as a kindergarten teacher, I'm a lot harder on my own child, and I'm so nervous that he's not prepared, especially because here in California, his preschool just shut down they pretty much just play outside because of Omicron. So they just ultimately just kind of shut down curriculum ultimately. So, and then going in, I'm like, well, then where will he go to school if we move? So, okay, well, thank you. Thanks again for it's a very comforting presentation. And
we're excited to welcome you, Jacqueline. And any
Absolutely.
questions that you have moving forward, then feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you.
Thank you so much.
And if you're looking for something to do in the fall, we may have some sub openings if you're interested.
You know what? Maybe actually, I wouldn't mind going back into work. I've been home.
Hey, well, we would welcome you, no problem. All right.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Okay, now Jeremy Ross, feel free to ask your question.
Great. I just have a follow-up question regarding Kids in Action. Is that I'm assuming that the Kids in Action program is based off of a full day of kindergarten?
Yes, it is. So Kids in Action Kindergarten opens up at the end of the school day, so 2:30 or 3 o'clock, respectively.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Now we've got Jennifer Fortune. Feel free to ask your question.
This is a silly one. I got ahead of the curve and tried to fill out a form online a couple weeks ago when I remembered, because otherwise I forget completely. And I was able to actually get the form and fill it out. I noticed there were a couple dates that were still 2021, but they seemed relevant otherwise. Do you want me to fill out an updated form?
What did you fill out? The registration form?
The registration forms for kindergarten.
I don't, some of them may have changed slightly. I don't know that the registration form itself changed or the developmental history changed. I think those are the same. Principals, do you remember if anything changed? I know we changed the sliding scale for tuition. That's different. Did anything else on the registration? I'm just having a hard time remembering.
I don't think so, Jamie. I don't think so
either.
Just the dates and things and names of people who changed, but that's about it. No, we pretty much had it the way we wanted it last year, so
yeah,
it'll probably be fine.
Once you submit it, if anything is awry, the school will reach out but don't feel like you have to redo the whole thing. Not a worry at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now we're gonna okay, next Jen Fortune. Lauren Bose, feel free to ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I just had a question. If we have a child right now that might be getting services privately, and we anticipate there might be some need for like a 504 and IEP coming into kindergarten, should we start to work on that evaluation now, or is it something we should focus on in September? Just curious what the timing should look like on that.
Are you currently in Hingham?
I am. I have one at South with Mrs. Eastwood and one coming up.
Yeah, so I would suggest that we start the evaluation. The evaluation process takes about a month and a half, and we want to, if there are in fact needs, we want to make sure they're in place prior to the start of the academic year. So anytime in the next month or so, feel free to reach out to either Mrs. Eastwood and she can connect you with the right people at South to initiate the evaluation process.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Kay Shriver, feel free to ask your question.
Hi. I know you mentioned that each school has their own orientation, and I was wondering if that is at all in person or if the student at all has a chance to visit his new school before the first day.
Oh, it's 100% in person. I'll let the principals talk a little bit about what they do.
Do you want me to take that one, Jamie?
Please feel free, Mary. Yep.
So absolutely, there are many opportunities to visit the schools, and we're trying to create many more than we've had in the past couple of years. The past couple of years have been different, but we're hoping to go back to the future depending how things are and numbers are. So there will be a time so the orientation we talked about in May is for parents, but then a few days later, and it varies at each school, we have what's known as Sneak a Peek. And the children are all invited in, and they actually, in some cases, do a bus orientation, and they also go to the classrooms in small groups. And then also we have meet and greet in the fall that goes on for 2 days, and that's when the parent actually goes in with the child to the actual classroom that they're going to be in. That being said, we also have different things at different schools. Children can come in and out. We have 1,000 Book Club at South. I think a couple of the other schools have that. I'll let the other principals pipe in and say what they have because they have different things. We invite the children to come to the playgrounds in the summertime, certainly if they want to come, and if you want to come and do a tour with them once the floors are cleaned and things like that, it's totally fine to walk them in and out. So there are many, many opportunities to come and see the school before they actually come. And I'm very hopeful that this year we won't have to limit them at all. So was there anything I missed? Some of the other principals, you might do some different things? Nope. Okay.
Thank you.
We try to keep it similar.
Okay, and next up we have, Fran, or FR Fran. Feel free to ask your question.
Hi, I think had missed it. Where do we get the application forms for the different schools?
So they're available at the schools or on our website. So if you go to our website, beginning February 28th, I want to mention, so they're not out just yet. They'll be released on February 28th. You'll complete a brief Google form that will give us some base demographic information, your name, your child's name, the date of birth. And then after you submit the form, you'll be given a password to log into the kindergarten registration page of the website. And at that point, you'll be able to complete the forms online, and you can submit them digitally as well. We also should note, I just got a text message, that if any of our families on the call are enrolling from our METCO program, so we just celebrated several years ago, our 50th anniversary of being a METCO district here in the Commonwealth. If you're a METCO family, anybody that might be listening, you should coordinate that with our METCO director, Carol Perez, and she'll walk you through the registration process. So in district communities, families, you're welcome to stop by the schools or fill it out online. METCO families should reach out to Carol Perez, and she'll get you those forms and support the registration process.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions that we could answer for anybody? It doesn't look like it. So what I will note is while the session will be coming to an end, and it's like we're just within time, which is great. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. Do feel free to reach out to any of our panelists, our 4 principals, or either of our kindergarten coordinators, Lakshmi or Julianne. Again, everybody's naming convention is first letter of their first name and then last name at hinghamschools.org. You can also find all of our contact information on our website, hinghamschools.org. You can search by school or go to the kindergarten webpage for more information. And with that, we want to thank you all for being here this evening. Again, for if anybody has friends who maybe weren't able to attend tonight, we will publish our recording so that they can watch it as well. And we do look forward to welcoming the Hingham High School class of 2035 in just a few months. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see y'all soon. And welcome to Hingham. Can't wait
Thanks, everyone.
Can't wait to see you in the fall.
Good night. Look forward
Good
to
night,
watching.
everyone. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, Julianne and Lakshmi. Nice job.
Of course.